Many years ago, in the bustling Lagos market Idumota, where traders hawked their wares and shoppers haggled over prices from dawn till dusk, an unusual event occurred that would forever change the lives of those who witnessed it. It began on an ordinary Tuesday. The sun beat down mercilessly on the tin roofs of the market stores, and the air was thick with the scent of spices, palm oil, and fresh fish. The hairdresser section of the market was particularly active that day. Women sat under large umbrellas, their hair being twisted, pulled, and braided by skilled hands. Mama Joy, the most established salon owner in Idumota, wiped sweat from her brow as she supervised her 5 apprentices working on different customers' heads. BC, be careful with Madam Kubura's edges. You're pulling too hard. Mama Joy barked, her large gold earrings swinging as she moved between workstations. BC, a young apprentice with nimble fingers, nodded quickly. Yes, ma. Sorry, ma. Mama Joy's salon was the largest in the market, with 10 braiding chairs always occupied, mirrors lining the walls, and shelves stacked with hair extensions of every color and texture. Business had been good for years. Customers came from all over Lagos to have their hair done by Mama Joy and her well-trained apprentices. Next to Mama Joy's salon was Auntie Adiola's place, slightly smaller but equally popular. Across from them was Madame Patience's salon, known for its elaborate bridal hairstyles. There were about 7 other salons in that section of the market, all competing but also existing in a delicate balance of mutual respect and unspoken territory agreements. But that Tuesday, something shifted in the established order of things. A slender young woman appeared at the far corner of the market, where an abandoned kiosk had stood empty for months. No one noticed her arrival. No moving truck, no fanfare, no announcement. She simply materialized like morning dew. The kiosk was small, barely large enough for 2 people to stand comfortably. It had no windows, just a single doorway covered by a faded blue curtain. The woman swept the space, brought in a single braiding chair, a small stool, and a box of hair accessories. She placed a small wooden sign outside, Ada's Hair Salon. For the first 2 days, nobody paid her any attention. The small salon in the corner was so insignificant that the market women barely glanced in its direction. But on the 3rd day, something peculiar happened. A woman named Folaki, who had been waiting at Mama Joy's salon for over 3 hours and was growing increasingly impatient, noticed the new salon. "Who is that?" she asked BC, who was supposed to be braiding her hair next. BC shrugged. "I don't know. She just came a few days ago. Nobody knows her." Folake stood up. "I'm going to try her salon. I've been waiting too long here." "But Madame Folake, Mama Joy will be angry," BC whispered, glancing nervously at her boss, who was busy berating another apprentice. "Let her be angry. My time is valuable too." Folake picked up her bag and walked across to the small kiosk. The young woman at the new salon looked up as Folake approached. She had a gentle face, with eyes that seemed to hold secrets. Her own hair was covered with a simple headscarf, and she wore a plain blue dress. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I'm Ada." "I want to get my hair braided," Folake said, still irritated from her long wait. "Small million braids. How long will it take?" Ada smiled. "Please sit down. I will finish in 1 hour." Folake laughed. 1 hour for million braids? Even Mama Joy, with all her apprentices, takes 4 hours at least. 1 hour? Ada repeated, gesturing to the single chair inside her small salon. Folake, curious and slightly amused, decided to give it a try. She entered the tiny space and sat down. There was only room for the chair she sat on, and the stool where Ada perched. No mirrors adorned the walls, just bare concrete painted a light blue. A small box of hair extensions sat on the floor. No mirrors? Folake asked, surprised. No mirrors until it's finished, Ada said firmly. It's my rule. You will see when I'm done. As Ada began to part Folake's hair, her fingers moved with extraordinary speed and precision. Folake couldn't see what was happening, but she could feel it. The gentle pull and twist of her hair being braided rapidly. Where are you from? Folake asked, trying to make conversation. I haven't seen you around Idumota before. Far away, Ada replied simply. I move where work takes me. Do you have family here in Lagos? No family. As Ada walked, Folake noticed something strange. Though she could see only Ada's hands moving in her peripheral vision, it felt as if multiple hands were working on her head simultaneously. Parts of her hair that Ada's hands weren't touching seemed to be braiding themselves. But that was impossible. True to her word, in exactly 1 hour, Ada stepped back. It's finished, she announced. Folake couldn't believe it. She reached up to touch her head, feeling the neat rows of tiny braids. Do you have a mirror now? Ada handed her a small hand mirror. Folake gasped when she saw her reflection. The braids were perfect, neater and more uniform than any she'd had before. Each one was exactly the same size, each row perfectly straight. This is amazing, Folake said, turning her head to see different angles. How did you do this so quickly? Ada simply smiled. I have practiced for many years. Folake paid her, giving extra for the exceptional work. As she left the small salon, she noticed Mama Joy watching her from across the way, eyes narrowed in suspicion. By the next day, Folake had told everyone she knew about the miracle braider in the corner of Idumota market. 3 women were waiting outside Ada's tiny salon before she even arrived. I heard you can do braids in 1 hour that take others 4, one woman said excitedly. Ada nodded. One at a time, please. Wait outside until I call you. And so it began. Each woman entered alone, sat in the single chair, and emerged an hour later with perfect braids. None of them saw what happened inside the small, mirrorless salon, but all left satisfied with their hair. By the end of the week, the line outside Ada's salon stretched across the market. Women arrived at dawn to secure their place, bringing folding chairs and umbrellas to shield themselves from the sun while they waited. Mama Joy watched this development with growing alarm. Her own salon, once the busiest in the market, now sat half empty. What kind of magic is this? She muttered to herself, watching another satisfied customer leave Ada's tiny salon. Something is not right here. On Monday morning, Mama Joy called an emergency meeting of all the salon owners in Idumota. They gathered in her salon before the market officially opened, sitting in the empty braiding chairs, their faces grim. We all know why we're here, Mama Joy began, her large frame pacing between the chairs. This new woman is stealing all our customers. Madam Patience, a thin woman with elaborate eyebrows, nodded vigorously. Yesterday, I had only 2 customers. 2. Last month, I couldn't even take a break to eat lunch because we were so busy. Same here, Auntie Adiola added. My apprentices are just sitting around playing with their phones. I'm still paying them, but no work is coming in. The other salon owners all had similar stories. Their once thriving businesses were dying, and all because of the mysterious woman in the corner kiosk. It's not natural, Mama Joy declared, slamming her palm on a nearby table for emphasis. Nobody can braid hair that fast, not even with 20 years of experience. Maybe she has very good technique, suggested Auntie Adeola timidly. Mama Joy shot her a withering look. Good technique. She does in 1 hour what takes my 5 apprentices 4 hours to complete. That's not technique, my dear. That's juju. A collective gasp went up from the women. Juju, traditional magic, was not something they took lightly. You think she's using spiritual powers? Madam Patience asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. What else could it be? Mama Joy replied, and if she's using juju on hair, what else might she be doing? Who knows what happens to these women after they leave her salon? Their hair might fall out. Or worse. The women murmured in agreement, their fear feeding off each other's anxiety. We need to find out what's happening in that salon, Mama Joy decided. We need someone to go undercover, pretend to be a customer, and report back what they see. I'll go, volunteered Auntie Adeola, the smallest and most soft-spoken of the salon owners. She doesn't know me well yet. The plan was set. Auntie Adeola would visit Ada's salon the next day and discover the secret of her incredible speed. When Auntie Adeola joined the line outside Ada's salon at dawn the next morning, she was 12th in line. She waited for hours, watching as woman after woman entered the small space and emerged an hour later, beaming with satisfaction. Finally, it was her turn. Heart pounding, Auntie Adeola ducked under the blue curtain and entered the tiny salon. Ada sat on her stool, as serene as a still lake. Welcome, she said with a soft smile. Please sit. What style would you like today? Auntie Adeola sat nervously on the braiding chair. Ghana weaving, please. The small size. Ada nodded and began to section Auntie Adeola's hair. As she walked, Auntie Adeola tried to watch Ada's movements in her peripheral vision, but it was difficult to see clearly. You have a very successful business, Auntie Adeola commented casually. How do you manage to work so quickly by yourself? Practice, Ada replied simply. And focus. No assistants? No helpers? No, just me. Auntie Adeola fell silent, concentrating on the sensations on her scalp. Something felt odd. Though she could only see Ada's 2 hands working on the crown of her head, she distinctly felt movements on the back and side simultaneously. It was as if invisible hands were braiding different sections at the same time. But that was impossible. Auntie Adeola told herself it was just her imagination, fueled by Mama Joy's talk of juju and magic. In exactly 1 hour, Ada announced, "It's finished." Auntie Adeola reached up to touch her hair, finding it completely braided in perfect Ghana weaving style. Ada handed her the small mirror, and Auntie Adeola gasped at the immaculate result. "It's beautiful," she admitted reluctantly. She paid and left, immediately making her way back to Mama Joy's salon, where the other owners were waiting anxiously. "Well?" Mama Joy demanded as soon as Auntie Adeola entered. "What did you see?" Auntie Adeola shook her head, confused. "Nothing unusual. She braided my hair, just like any of us would, but she's incredibly fast." "Show us your hair," Madam Patience demanded. They all examined Auntie Adeola's braids, murmuring in grudging appreciation at the perfect work. "And you saw nothing strange? No extra hands, no spiritual manifestations?" Mama Joy pressed. "Naughty," Auntie Adeola replied. "But it felt strange, like more hands than I could see were working on my hair. But I must have imagined it, because I could clearly see she only has 2 hands." Mama Joy's eyes narrowed. She's hiding something. The question is what? For the next few days, The salon owners watched Ada's tiny kiosk like hawks, noting the ever-growing line of customers. Their own businesses continued to decline. Two of the smaller salon owners had already decided to close shop and try selling something else. Mama Joy, however, was not one to give up easily. She had built her salon from nothing 20 years ago and had fought off plenty of competition in her time. This mysterious Ada would not be the end of her. My sister will go next, she announced at another meeting of the remaining salon owners. Blessing is smart and observant. She'll notice what Auntie Adeola missed. Blessing was Mama Joy's younger sister, a university graduate who helped at the salon occasionally. Tall and confident, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, she was the perfect spy. The next day, Blessing joined the line at Ada's salon, now so long that it wrapped around the corner of the market. She waited for nearly 8 hours before it was her turn. By then, she was hot, tired, and irritated, the perfect state to be extra vigilant. When she entered the tiny salon, Ada looked up with her usual serene smile. "Welcome," she said. "Please sit. What style would you like today?" "I want 1,000,000 braids," Blessing said, choosing the most time-consuming style she could think of. "The very tiny ones," Ada nodded without batting an eye. "It will take 3 hours." 3 hours, Blessing repeated incredulously. "For 1,000,000 braids? That would take days in my sister's salon." 3 hours, Ada confirmed, gesturing to the chair. As Ada walked, Blessing paid close attention to everything. The tiny salon had bare walls, a dirt floor covered with a woven mat, and absolutely no mirrors. There were no hidden compartments that she could see, no other people lurking behind the curtain. And yet, as Ada's hands walked on the front section of her hair, Blessing distinctly felt movement on the back of her head. When Ada's hands moved to the sides, she felt braiding continuing on the crown. It was as if multiple sets of hands were working in perfect coordination. Blessing tried to turn her head suddenly, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was causing this sensation. But Ada firmly held her head in place. "Please stay still," she said, "for the best results." Exactly 3 hours later, Ada stepped back. "It's finished." Blessing reached up and felt her entire head covered in tiny, perfect braids. Ada handed her the small mirror, and Blessing couldn't help but gasp. The work was flawless, better than any braiding she had ever seen, including her sister's. "How did you do this?" Blessing asked directly. "No one can braid this fast." Ada's smile never faltered. "I have a gift." "What kind of gift?" Blessing pressed. "The kind that should not be questioned," Ada replied, her voice suddenly taking on a slight edge. "Some things are better left unexplained." A chill ran down Blessing's spine. She paid quickly and left, hurrying back to her sister's salon. "Well," Mama Joy demanded when Blessing burst through the door. "What did you discover?" "Something is definitely wrong," Blessing said, still catching her breath. "It felt like multiple hands were braiding my hair at once, but I could only see her 2 hands working. And look at this." She pointed to her head. 1,000,000 braids, perfectly done, in just 3 hours. It's not humanly possible. Mama Joy examined her sister's hair carefully. "This is beyond skill," she declared. "This is supernatural." She said she has a gift, and that some things shouldn't be questioned, Blessing added. "And there's something else strange. She doesn't allow mirrors in the salon until the braiding is finished." Mama Joy's eyes widened. "No mirrors?" "That's it. Mirrors reveal the truth in many spiritual matters. They show what's really there, not what appears to be. So what do we do?" asked Madam Patience, who had been listening intently. A slow, determined smile spread across Mama Joy's face. "We go back with a mirror." "Blessing, you'll return next month. Take a compact mirror in your bag. When she's busy braiding, take it out and look at her reflection. Then we'll know what we're dealing with. The plan was set, but they would have to wait. Ada was so busy that customers could only get appointments weeks in advance now. The wait gave them time to prepare. In the month that followed, Ada's reputation continued to grow. Women came from as far as Ibadan and even Benin Republic to have their hair braided by the miracle worker of Idumota. The line outside her salon was a constant fixture in the market, and her prices had doubled. Yet people still came. Meanwhile, the other salon owners struggled to survive. 3 more closed their shops. Mama Joy held on by cutting her prices drastically and offering special promotions. But even so, her business was a shadow of its former self. The salon owners who remained didn't just sit idle during this month. They sought spiritual protection. Madam Patience visited her church pastor for special prayers. Auntie Adeola consulted her babalawos, a traditional healer who gave her protective charms. Mama Joy did both, covering all bases. Whatever this Ada is, she's not natural, Mama Joy told the others. We need to be prepared for anything. Finally, the day arrived for Blessing's second appointment. She arrived at Ada's salon with a small handbag containing a compact mirror, her hands shaking slightly with nervousness. When she entered the tiny salon, Ada greeted her with the same serene smile. "Welcome back," she said. "The same style as before?" Blessing nodded. "Yes, 1,000,000 braids." As Ada began to walk, Blessing felt the now familiar sensation of multiple hands braiding her hair simultaneously, though she could only see Ada's 2 hands moving in front of her. Halfway through the process, when Ada was focused intently on a complex section, Blessing slowly reached into her bag and pulled out the compact mirror. Heart pounding, she angled it to see Ada's reflection. What she saw made her blood run cold. In the mirror's reflection, Ada had not 2 arms but 10, thin, elongated limbs extending from her back like an octopus, each terminating in a perfectly formed human hand. These extra hands moved with incredible speed and precision, braiding different sections of Blessing's hair simultaneously. A scream rose in Blessing's throat. She jumped up from the chair, dropping the mirror with a clatter. "What are you?" she gasped, backing toward the curtained doorway. Ada's serene expression transformed into one of anger and fear. "What have you done?" she hissed. "I told you no mirrors." Blessing turned and fled, bursting through the curtain and into the crowded market, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Demon! She has octopus hands. She's not human." The line of waiting customers scattered in confusion and fear. Blessing ran straight to Mama Joy's salon, her half-braided hair flying wildly around her face, her eyes wide with terror. "I saw it! I saw it!" she cried, collapsing into her sister's arms. "She has 10 hands!" Extra arms growing from her back. A crowd gathered as Blessing's screams attracted attention. Mama Joy held her trembling sister, her own face pale with shock. "What did you see? Tell us exactly," she demanded. Between gasps, Blessing described the horrifying image in the mirror. The 10 arms extending from Ada's back, the extra hands walking at inhuman speed. "I knew it," Mama Joy declared triumphantly, though her voice shook. "No human can braid that fast. She's been using dark powers all along." The market women murmured fearfully, many making signs to ward off evil. Some who had their hair braided by Ada began to touch their heads anxiously, as if her work might suddenly come alive on their scalps. "We must confront her," Mama Joy announced. "Bring a mirror. We'll expose her in front of everyone. A mob formed quickly, led by Mama Joy and the remaining salon owners. They marched toward Ada's tiny kiosk, armed with hand mirrors and righteous indignation. Madam Patience carried a large Bible. Auntie Adeola clutched her protective charms. When they reached the small salon, Ada was standing in the doorway, her face calm, but her eyes alert and wary. "What is this about?" she asked, though she surely knew. "We know what you are," Mama Joy shouted, her voice carrying across the now silent market. "Show yourself, demon." Ada remained still, her expression unchanged. "I don't know what you mean." "Bring the mirror," Mama Joy commanded. One of her apprentices stepped forward with a full-length mirror, salvaged from her salon. "If you're human, you won't mind looking in this," Mama Joy said, her voice slightly steadier now that she was in control of the situation. The crowd pressed closer, eager to see what would happen. Ada's eyes flickered between the mirror and the hostile faces surrounding her. "This is unnecessary," she said quietly. "I've done nothing wrong. I simply braid hair." "With 10 hands," Blessing shouted from behind her sister. "I saw you in the mirror." A gasp went up from the crowd. Women who had patronized Ada's salon began to whisper frantically among themselves. "That's why she doesn't allow mirrors," someone said loudly. "She's hiding her true form." "Look in the mirror," Mama Joy demanded again, stepping closer with the full-length mirror. For a moment, it seemed Ada might refuse or even flee. But surrounded as she was by the crowd, there was nowhere to go. Slowly, she turned toward the mirror. The reflection showed what everyone expected to see: a slender young woman in a simple blue dress. But as they watched, the image in the mirror began to change. Additional limbs slowly emerged from behind Ada's back, unfolding like the petals of some grotesque flower. 10 arms, each ending in a perfectly formed human hand. The crowd screamed and backed away. Some women fell to their knees in prayer. Others turned and ran. Mama Joy stood her ground, though her face had drained of all color. "What are you?" she whispered. Ada looked at her own reflection calmly, as if seeing it for the first time herself. "I told you," she said softly. "I have a gift." "This is not a gift," Mama Joy said, finding her voice again. "This is abomination. You've been using dark powers to steal our customers and ruin our businesses." The other market women shouted in agreement, their fear turning to anger. "You must leave Idumota immediately," Mama Joy declared. "Go back to whatever dark place you came from." Ada's expression hardened. "And if I refuse?" Before Mama Joy could respond, the market head woman pushed through the crowd. Madam Arike was in her 70s, respected by all for her wisdom and authority. The crowd parted for her like the Red Sea. "What is happening here?" she demanded, her voice cracking with age but still commanding. "This woman is not human," Mama Joy explained quickly. "She has been using dark powers to braid hair and steal our customers. Look." She pointed to the mirror, where Ada's reflection still showed the extra appendages. Madame Arike studied the reflection, then turned to Ada. "Is this true? Are you using supernatural abilities in my market?" Ada met the old woman's gaze. "I use what I was given. I came here to work and earn a living, just like everyone else." "By stealing our customers," Mama Joy interjected. Madame Arike held up her hand for silence. "How did you come by these abilities?" she asked Ada. Ada hesitated, then seemed to decide that the truth, or some version of it, was her only option now. "I was once like them," she said, gesturing to the salon owners. "A struggling hairdresser in Ogun State, with barely enough customers to survive. One day, A wealthy woman came to my salon. She saw my desperation and told me there was another way. She said successful salon owners belong to a society, a place where they received gifts in exchange for service. The crowd pressed closer, hanging on every word of this confession. I was desperate. Ada continued, her voice dropping. I followed her. I was initiated. These hands were my gift. In return, I must collect payment. Payment? Madam Arike asked sharply. What kind of payment? Hair, Ada replied simply. Each night I collect strands of hair from my customers and submit them to our leader. A horrified murmur ran through the crowd. Women who had visited Ada's salon touched their heads protectively. What do they do with the hair? Someone shouted. Ada shook her head. I don't know. I only know it must be delivered. Madam Arike's wrinkled face was grave. This cannot continue in Idumota. Whatever covenant you have made, it has no place here. She must be punished, Mama Joy insisted. Look at what she's done to our businesses. The crowd shouted in agreement, the mood turning dangerous. Madam Arike raised both hands for silence. We will take her to the palace, she decided. The traditional rulers would determine her fate. 4 burly market guards stepped forward to surround Ada, who made no move to resist. As they led her away, she turned to look at Mama Joy and Blessing. You should not have interfered, she said quietly. Some secrets are better left undiscovered. A chill ran down Blessing's spine at these words. She clutched her sister's arm tightly. The guards took Ada to a small storeroom that served as a temporary holding cell until she could be presented to the traditional authorities. A heavy padlock secured the door and a guard was posted outside. The market gradually returned to normal, though the atmosphere remained tense. Women who had their hair braided by Ada rushed to various churches and spiritual houses, seeking cleansing and protection from whatever curse might be lingering in their braids. Some even shaved their heads completely, unwilling to take any chances. The salon owners gathered in Mama Joy's shop, their mood triumphant, yet uneasy. We've won, Mama Joy declared. Though her voice lacked its usual confidence, our customers will return now. What do you think they'll do to her? Auntie Adiola asked quietly. No one answered. The traditional rulers had their own methods of dealing with supernatural threats, methods that were not discussed openly. As night fell over Idumota market, a strange stillness settled over the hairdresser section. The salons closed for the day, and the market guards made their final rounds, checking that all shops were properly secured. The guard posted at the storeroom yawned, fighting to stay awake in the quiet darkness. Suddenly, a sound from inside the room made him straighten up. Hello, he called. Is someone there? Silence answered him. Nervously, he peered through the small window in the door. The storeroom appeared empty. Alarmed, the guard fumbled with the keys, unlocked the padlock, and pushed open the door. The room was indeed empty. Ada had vanished without a trace, as mysteriously as she had appeared. The guard ran to alert Madame Arike and the other market officials. By midnight, the news had spread throughout Idumota. The demon braider had escaped. In her apartment across town, Blessing tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The image of Ada's reflection, the 10 arms sprouting from her back, kept flashing in her mind, and her parting words echoed ominously. You should not have interfered. Some secrets are better left undiscovered. As Blessing finally drifted into an uneasy sleep, a shadow moved across her bedroom wall. A shadow with too many limbs. In her dreams, Ada came to her, those unnatural hands, reaching for her throat. You exposed me. Dream Ada whispered. Now I will destroy you and everything you love. Blessing woke with a start, gasping for breath. Just a nightmare, she told herself. But as she turned to switch on her bedside lamp, she saw something that made her blood freeze in her veins. A single braid of her hair lay coiled on her pillow, a braid she was certain hadn't been there when she went to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness of Lagos, Ada was smiling.